back again for another binge guide, The Next Show. You know, we're here to give you the scoop on what movies are coming up and should they be on your radar. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Victoria. And today we're digging into one that's generating quite a bit of buzz already, even though it's still a little ways out.
We're talking about Hell of a Summer.
Yes. We've got all the details for you, like release date changes, who's behind it, what it's about, even what the critics are saying so far.
All that to help you decide if Hell of a Summer deserves a spot on your watch list.
So let's dive in, shall we?
Let's. So right off the bat, Hell of a Summer is a horror comedy.
Uh-huh.
And it stars Finn Wolfhard, you know, from Stranger Things, and It.
Oh, yeah.
And Billy Bryk from Ghostbusters, Afterlife, and When You Finish Saving the World.
Okay, so two pretty recognizable names for this genre, but there's a twist.
A twist. Okay, I'm intrigued.
They're not just acting in this one. Get this, the release date has been moved up. It was supposed to come out April 18th, 2025, but now
Oh, wow.
it's hitting theaters on April 4th.
Wow, a full 2 weeks earlier.
Yeah.
That's pretty significant.
I think so.
Sometimes that means the studio's feeling really confident about a movie. Like they want to get it out there sooner rather than later.
Yeah, you gotta wonder what they're seeing. But it's not like this movie's coming out of nowhere.
Right. It already premiered at TIFF.
Yes, the Toronto International Film Festival back in 2023.
So it's already got some early buzz going.
It does. And according to one of our sources, the initial reactions were positive.
Okay, so critics are digging it.
Well, if we look at the numbers, it's currently sitting at 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's based on 14 reviews.
Okay, so not like a runaway hit with critics.
Right. But not a complete flop either.
No, 50% could mean it really clicks with a certain audience, even if it doesn't blow everyone away.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not like it completely bombed at TIFF either, right?
What happened at TIFF?
It was actually the second runner-up for the People's Choice Award for Midnight Madness.
So the audience liked it. They did. And for a horror comedy playing at Midnight Madness, that audience reaction, I mean...
That says something.
It does. They're the target audience. For
Totally. They're there for those late-night screenings, looking for something exciting, something different, and they clearly responded to it.
They did. And sometimes I think those audience awards can be a better gauge of how much fun a movie is than the straight-up critical reviews.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you've got these two leads, Wolfhard and Bryk. We know they're stepping into a slightly different role with this film.
Yeah.
They're not just showing up on set as
Right.
actors this time.
No.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They're behind the scenes, too.
They co-wrote, co-directed, and co-produced Hell of a Summer. It's a lot.
A triple threat.
Right. And it's their first big collaboration as filmmakers. Plus, it's Bryk's first time directing a film, period.
That's pretty ambitious for a first project together.
It is. But they've obviously worked well together on screen before, so there must be a good creative partnership there that made them want to take this leap.
They must really clicked.
Yeah. And during TIFF, they actually talked about some of the films that inspired them for this project.
That's always interesting to hear. What did they mention?
Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, the classic horror comedy.
Yeah, which makes sense, right?
Totally. Gives you an idea of the tone they might be going for.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, was there anything else? Anything unexpected?
Well, they also mentioned early Wes Anderson films.
Whoa, okay. Now that's interesting.
They said they wanted the comedy to feel very character-based and real, even in the middle of all the crazy, scary stuff.
Wow. So, like, Shaun of the Dead meets Wes Anderson at a summer camp massacre.
Pretty much. So the humor's not going to be all slapstick and jump scares.
Right. More subtle, more character-driven. Maybe even a bit quirky, like you see in some of those Anderson films.
Exactly. And this might surprise you, but Wolfhard actually mentioned that getting the film financed wasn't easy at first.
Oh, really? Why not?
Some potential investors were hesitant because of his age. He was only 19 when they were trying to get funding.
I guess I can see why some people might be a little cautious about investing in a project led by someone that young.
Yeah.
But clearly, they found the right backers in the end. They got it made.
They did. So now let's talk about what we can actually expect to see on screen. The story, the plot of Hell of a Summer.
All right, what kind of scares and laughs are we in for?
Okay, so the basic setup is a summer camp flasher. Classic horror movie trope, right?
Love it.
The story centers around Jason Hochberg, who's played by Fred Hetchinger.
Oh yeah, he was in Fear Street, right?
That's him. And he's a 24-year-old camp counselor. He arrives at this place called Camp Pineway. And at first, his biggest worry is just feeling kind of old, like he doesn't quite fit in with his teenage coworkers.
Ah, I see. So that classic fish out of water scenario. Already I can see some comedic potential there. But I'm guessing that age gap awkwardness isn't the main conflict in a horror film?
No, no. Things take a much darker turn pretty quickly.
What happens?
A masked killer appears and starts targeting the camp staff. And get this isn't like weeks into the summer when everyone's settled in. This is the night before the campers are even supposed to arrive.
Whoa. That's intense.
Talk about a rough start to the season.
Yeah, throws you right into the action. Isolated location, a bunch of potential victims about to show up.
And a killer already on the loose. The trailer actually gives us a pretty good taste of that rising tension.
Oh yeah, what's in the trailer?
Lines like, a killer on the loose and she's dead. Straight to the point.
Yikes. That's ominous.
And there's also this sense of paranoia amongst the counselors, right?
Like they don't know who to trust.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, could the killer be someone they know? Which adds that classic whodunit element to the slasher formula.
Oh, I love that. That feeling of suspicion, not knowing who's safe, can be just as unsettling as the actual violence, you know?
Absolutely, but they don't forget the humor entirely. Even in the trailer, there's this funny bit
Oh, tell me about it.
where one of the counselors accuses another one of stealing their murder mystery party idea.
That's so darkly comedic.
Right, like that blend of everyday camp activities with this looming horror.
I love it.
And you also see those classic summer camp scenes, you know?
Oh yeah, like counselors sitting around a campfire.
Exactly. But you know something bad's about to happen.
Right, lurking just out of sight.
So good. So we've mentioned a few of the actors, but who else is part of this doomed summer camp crew?
Yeah, fill us in. Who else should we be looking out for?
Well, we have Abby Quinn playing Claire,
Oh.
DeFaro Wunatai as Mike,
All right,
Billy Bryk as Bobby, and Finn Wolfhard Chris,
got it.
and Party Sarami as Demi.
So a solid mix of up-and-coming talent there.
Yeah.
Anyone else we might recognize?
Oh, absolutely. We've also got Rosebud Baker and Adam Pally.
Oh, nice.
Kristen Nazaire plays Shannon. Matthew Finlan is Ezra. Julia Lalonde plays Noelle. Daniel Gravel is Ari. Julia Doyle is Miley. And Susan Coyne rounds out the cast.
Wow, that's a pretty big cast.
A lot of potential victims or suspects.
Or both. So let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about the making of the film, the behind-the-scenes stuff. When did this project actually get off the ground?
It was officially announced back in July 2022. And remember, Fred Hetchinger wasn't just acting in the movie.
Right, you as a producer too.
Exactly. And he wasn't alone. Jason Bateman and Michael Costigan from Aggregate Films were producers as well.
Oh wow, they've got a great track record.
They do. And Jay Van Hoy from Parts and Labor was also a producer. So you've got some serious experience behind the scenes.
Yeah, for first-time directors like Wolfhard and Bryk, having those seasoned producers on board must have been invaluable.
Definitely. And as for the financial backing, that came from 30 West. They also executive produced the film.
Okay, where did they shoot this thing?
All the filming took place in Ontario, Canada, back in July and August of 2022.
So a fairly quick turnaround from filming to release then.
Yeah, pretty efficient. So we've talked about the early buzz from TIFF, the audience reactions there. What about the specific things critics have been saying about Hell of a Summer?
Yeah, what are the reviews actually saying?
Let's start with Nate Richard from Collider. He called it a bloody fun horror throwback.
Bloody fun. That sounds about right.
Right. Fits the whole vibe we've been discussing, you know, that retro feel, the classic slasher elements.
Totally. What about some other perspectives?
Valerie Complex from Deadline Hollywood gave it a positive review. She particularly praised Wolfhard and Bryk's direction. She said they craft a distinct cinematic piece that is both a tribute to and a reinvention of the slasher genre. High praise.
It is. Sounds like they're not just relying on those tired tropes.
Exactly. However, she did mention an issue with the dimly lit nighttime scenes.
Ah, yeah, that's a pretty common problem in horror movies.
It is, but overall, she found Hell of a Summer to be a delightful mix of 80s nostalgia and modern creativity with a clever story and even some social commentary woven in.
Now, those are some pretty positive words, but I imagine not every review was quite so glowing.
You're right, Jourdain Searles from The Hollywood Reporter had a bit of a different take.
Oh, what did they say?
Their review started with, "The biggest problem with Hell of a Summer is that there's really not much to say about it. Ouch."
Okay, a little more lukewarm there.
Yeah, they compared watching it to being in a film class, you know, just looking for ways to improve.
So maybe not the most memorable film then.
Perhaps not. But they did say that making a film is an achievement in itself. And they express curiosity about what Wolfhard and Bryk will do next.
So there's still some potential there.
Definitely.
This brings us back to the genre and those influences they mentioned. Shaun of the Dead and early Wes Anderson. Let's dig into what those might bring to a summer camp slasher.
Okay, so it's being called a horror comedy and a slasher film, right?
Right.
The Shaun of the Dead reference is key because it tells us we should expect some genuine laughs alongside the scares, likely coming from the characters' reactions to all the crazy situations.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then you have the early Wes Anderson influence, movies like Rushmore or Bottle Rocket.
Oh, I love those.
Me too.
Yeah.
That might mean a focus on quirky, well-defined characters.
Right, and maybe even a slightly more stylized look to the film, which would be a cool contrast to the typical gritty slasher aesthetic.
I think so too. And then, of course, there's the summer camp setting itself, which is just classic horror.
Oh yeah. You can't go wrong with a good summer camp slasher. Friday the 13th, anyone.
Exactly. And Hell of a Summer taps into that inherent creepiness of being isolated in the woods.
You're miles from help.
Right.
Anything could happen.
But there's this interesting bit from Variety. They reported that Wolfhard and Bryk wanted to upend Gen Z stereotypes with this film.
Oh, that's intriguing. How do you think they'll do that?
Well, they might be playing with the typical character archetypes we expect to see in these films, you know? Or maybe subverting the usual motivations.
That's smart. Use the familiar to do something unexpected.
Yeah, I think so. And that new poster that Neon released.
Yeah, what about it?
It's got that totally retro 80s horror movie poster vibe. Bold colors, ominous but fun.
Really leans into that throwback feel they're going for.
For sure. So we've covered a lot of ground here. Yeah. Early buzz, the creative team's vision, the plot, the cast, how it was made, what critics are saying. What's your overall gut feeling about Hell of a Summer? Should this be the next show we urge everyone to see?
It's tough to say for sure. It sounds like it has a lot of potential, especially if you're into horror comedies or slashers.
Yeah.
The fact that it's coming from such a young, passionate team, that's exciting.
Definitely.
And you've got those positive audience reactions from TIFF and some good early reviews.
That's true.
So it seems like it's going to be entertaining at the very least. But then you have those more lukewarm reviews too, reminding us it might not be some groundbreaking masterpiece.
Right.
I think managing expectations is key. But if you're looking for a fun, maybe bloody, definitely nostalgic movie with some laughs, Hell of a Summer could be a good choice.
I agree. And that early release date, that suggests Neon has some confidence in it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And this whole blend of Shaun of the Dead style humor with a touch of Wes Anderson, that's unique. I'm curious to see how it all comes together.
Me too. And even if the film itself isn't super memorable, it's a big step for Wolfhard and Bryk as filmmakers. I'm definitely interested to see what they do next.
All right, so there you have it. That was our deep dive into Hell of a Summer. Sounds like a potential winner to kick off the spring movie season.
For sure, keep an eye out for it, hitting theaters on April 4th, 2025. And if you see it, let us know what you thought.
And that's it for this deep dive on Binge Guide, the next show.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be back soon with another movie you need to know about.
See you next time.